Hello friends, welcome back to Engineering Today, and hope you're having a great time. Let's begin with an update regarding SpaceX. Launches SES-22 communication satellite, lands rocket at sea. The first television transmission satellite launched by SpaceX on June 29th from Cape Canaveral in Florida was part of SES's C-band clearing strategy. SES-22, a satellite that will help SES make billions of dollars from selling off C-band frequencies to American 5G networks, was launched by a Falcon 9 rocket at 5:04 p.m. Eastern. About 33 minutes later, the satellite, SES-22, detached from the rocket and entered geostationary transfer orbit. After the launch, SpaceX's reusable Falcon 9 first stage safely landed on a drone ship in the Atlantic Ocean. 6 geostationary satellites were ordered by SES to help move broadcast customers into a more condensed region of the C-band spectrum. SES-22 is the first of these satellites to launch. If SES and other C-band users satisfy the FCC's deadlines for freeing up 300 MHz of spectrum, they'll be eligible for a total payment of $9.7 billion from the agency. Thales Alenia Space, which is also building SES-23, the company's new C-band satellite, built the 3,500-kilogram SES-22 satellite. Additionally, SES is getting 2 C-band satellites from Northrop Grumman and Boeing, respectively. 2 SES C-band replacement satellites are expected to be launched by United Launch Alliance and SpaceX in the 3rd and 4th quarters of 2022. The 6th satellite serves as a ground backup. According to SES, the FCC's deadline for clearing spectrum in December 2023 is still on schedule to be met. SES and Intelsat, who collectively control the greatest portion of the C-band spectrum in the U.S., were able to successfully release more than $2 billion in joint profits from passing a preliminary FCC milestone in 2017. The FCC's proposal will give Intelsat and SES a combined $4.9 billion and $3.97 billion, respectively. The satellite operators are still embroiled in a protracted legal battle about their portion of the earnings, though. The conflict arose after Intelsat left their C-band alliance. According to SES, the rivals had agreed to equally divide the proceeds from spectrum clearance. When the FCC chose to undertake a public auction of C-band spectrum rather than a closed procedure managed by the C-band alliance, Intelsat claims their agreement was no longer valid. Intelsat placed an order for 7 satellites as part of their C-band clearing strategy and has scheduled launches with Arianespace and SpaceX to begin in 2022. 4 C-band replacement satellites are being built by Maxar Technologies for Intelsat, with the other 2 being built by Northrop Grumman. There are no plans to use any of the 7 as ground spares. In October, a Falcon 9 rocket will lift off from Cape Canaveral, carrying Intelsat's first 2 C-band replacement satellites, Galaxy 33 and Galaxy 34. Let's take a quick look at a Starlink update. SpaceX sent an email to Starlink users requesting support in its conflict with Dish Network over radio frequencies for its Starlink Internet from Space project. An email was sent to some Starlink users asking them to support SpaceX in the legal battle by contacting the Federal Communications Commission and members of Congress. Dish and SpaceX are now at odds over a spectrum of radio frequencies known as the 12 GHz band. These frequencies are utilized by SpaceX to run the vast Starlink network, a constellation of more than 2,400 spacecraft that provides consumers with broadband internet access on Earth. Another project to provide internet access from space, OneWeb, also uses this frequency. But in January of last year, the FCC allowed the 12 GHz range to be used for 5G after Dish and RS Access submitted studies on how their networks could make use of the frequencies. Additionally, the firms established a 5G for 12 GHz coalition with other business partners in an effort to persuade the FCC to modify its regulations and permit the use of the 12 GHz band for 5G. As per the email, today we ask for your support in ending a lobbying campaign that threatens to make Starlink usable to you and the vast majority of our American customers. SpaceX is currently relaunching at Dish and those services. The 12 GHz range is used by SpaceX as workhorse frequencies to deliver essential downlink services across the U.S., according to a document made with the FCC last week. SpaceX asserts that users will experience complete breakdown of service 74% of the time if the spectrum were made available for 5G use. These facts were included in SpaceX's communication to Starlink users, along with a link to a research it commissioned that, according to SpaceX, demonstrates how sharing the 12 GHz band will impair Starlink operation. The email states that the FCC and your congressional representatives have the capacity to halt this endeavor, but they need to hear from you. As mentioned in the email, despite technical studies dating back as far as 2016 that refute the basis of their claims, Dish has employed paid lobbyists who are attempting to mislead the FCC with faulty analysis in hopes of obscuring the truth. Let's move on to our last update for the day. This week, ULA's new Vulcan Centaur rocket, which the U.S. military is invested in and plans to employ to launch national security satellites, will be the subject of Frank Calvelli's visit to the company's Decatur, Alabama plant. With less than 2 months on the job, Calvelli told reporters at the Pentagon on June 28th that he is aware of the BE-4 development delays for Vulcan's main engine, and that's why he chose to put ULA and Blue Origin on this travel schedule as soon as possible. As per Calvelli, one of the first industry visits I want to make is down there to make sure they understand the importance of hitting their milestones with that engine delivery as well as with the launch. A BE-4 engine that drives the first stage of the vehicle, Vulcan is years behind schedule as a result of testing and development delays. The 2 flight engines required for Vulcan's initial flight, according to ULA CEO Tory Bruno, will be delivered this summer, and Vulcan should be ready to fly by the end of the calendar year. The maiden launch of Vulcan is anticipated for December, according to Calvelli. I've been informed that. For ULA to be approved to launch American military and intelligence satellites under the National Security Space Launch Program, Vulcan must begin flight testing and 2 commercial orbital missions must be successfully completed. Together with SpaceX, ULA has a contract to launch up to 35 missions over the next 5 years. The Defense Department must have Vulcan certified as quickly as feasible. ULA presently uses its workhorse Atlas V rocket to launch NSSL missions. However, DoD is unable to purchase any Atlas V flights after 2022 owing to a congressional restriction on the use of Russian rocket engines. Russian-made RD-180 engines are used by the Atlas V. The business must begin the transition to Vulcan and use a locally built engine, according to ULA, which claims to have sold all its remaining Atlas Vs and recently secured a significant deal from Amazon to launch the Kuiper broadband constellation. During his anticipated visit on June 30th, according to Calvelli, he'll be updated on the situation with Vulcan. I've never received a thorough explanation of what Vulcan and the BE-4 are all about, the man remarked. As one of my first industry trips, I'm going down there to make sure they realize it's absolutely vital that they launch this year in December like they pledged to, that they get those engines delivered, he continued. In order to ensure that both Blue Origin and ULA are aware of how important this is, I'm heading there for educational purposes. At this time, Calvelli claimed he had no particular worries about the program, but he still thinks it's significant enough to warrant a visit. He added, I just want them to recognize that there's somebody new in town and that this is really important to me. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this. Hit the like button if you find the video interesting, and kindly provide your valuable feedback in the comment section. This will help us to improve.